Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Scherer, and that's Robert Harding. This is the Citizen Sports Weekly for April 16, 2015, and we will not be talking about ping pong paddles right off the bat.
Inside joke.
Inside joke, yes. But we will talk about the Masters a little bit because I think it was a good tournament. I mean, yes, it wasn't really close, but Jordan Spieth showed that he is probably, the next of the new generation of great golfers that are coming up. Rory McIlroy and Ricky Fowler, and I think you can add Jordan's name to the list there. It was a great win. I mean, look, the guy went out there from the get-go. He just burned up the course. He never took his foot off the pedal, and he won convincingly. It's a great win, and it was good for golf. And, I think some people wanted to see maybe Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods contend, and Phil was right up there. And I'll be honest with you, I think Phil Mickelson, I'm going to say it right now, Phil Mickelson's going to win a major this year.
Wow.
It's either going to be one of the Opens. It's either going to be the Open Championship in Britain or it's going to be the U.S. Open. But he was 12 under par? 14 under par?
14, I believe. Yeah.
14 under par.
Tied for runner-up.
Now, you think about that. Most years, 14 under par, you're going to win the tournament. So
Yeah.
Phil played pretty darn well. I think they just got glossed over with Jordan Spieth's such a great win. Not taking anything away from Jordan. I mean, hey, he deserves every accolade. But Phil shot 14 under par. Mm-hmm. That's not too shabby for a guy who's on the north side of 40.
No, that's very good. I mean, I think one thing about the Masters is that, one thing I like about Augusta is that you get the best out of these golfers. There's with the U.S. Open and PGA especially, you end up with courses that can be challenging and golfers winning the tournament with an over par score. Mm-hmm. And that's boring to me. I don't know about anybody else out there, but, I like to see the golfers, to be able to showcase their ability to make good shots and not have to grind just to get to, 3 or 4 over to win. And Spieth was on top of his game. Mickelson was great, all week as well. Most of the week anyway. McIlroy, gained some steam there at the end. Tiger had some good days in between.
I mean, he showed a couple little things there. Yeah. Maybe he's starting to come back a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, you look at his score compared to the winner, and you say, gee, he didn't do all that well. But then you remember, oh right, he really hasn't played golf this year.
And he was shooting. And he was shooting in the 80s. I mean, he was just unheard of for him. So I think it was a pretty good Masters. It was very entertaining and competitive, and I think we got to see some good golf and. It was quite enjoyable. So like I said, tip your cap to Jordan Spieth. He's a star is born, so to speak, and now we're going to be keeping our eye on him and see how he does from here on in. Can he win another major? Can Rory McIlroy come back at the U.S. Open and because he had won the last 2 Grand Slam events, if I believe correctly, he won the British and the PGA Championship there. So can he come back and everything? Although really he hasn't really left or anything where he needs to come back, but can he win another major? So it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Where should we take this?
Where should we take this? Well, there's so many places we could take this. We have the NHL playoffs underway.
I watched both games last night.
We have the NBA playoffs starting up pretty soon. Major League Baseball is, I guess it's full bloom now. It's in its 3rd week of the season, and I think we're starting to see some things full bloom. And of course, the NFL is the NFL, where the Bills get the cover of Sports Illustrated at the end of April. Although it is a regional cover. It's not the national cover. But still, the Bills will take it.
Do the Dolphins have a regional cover?
If they did something significant, I'm sure that they would be on the cover. But,
interesting.
So there's a lot of different ways we could take this. But let's talk NHL playoffs. Let's talk hockey for once in a great while. I mean, hey, maybe NASCAR next time, huh?
Wow.
But anyways, hockey. The Rangers President's Trophy winners, right. Which means they were the best regular season team, which really means nothing in the playoffs. And, I think this is going to be a good year for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think you're going to have some competitive series. I think you're going to have some upsets. I would love to see a Rangers. I wish we could have a Rangers-Islanders final in the Eastern Conference. My heart, when I was a kid, I was an Islanders fan back in the late 70s, early 80s. I loved the Islanders. And it would be great in their last season in Long Island for them to get to the Cup Finals. That would be pretty cool. But I don't think that's going to happen. But the Rangers, I think, are the team that all the pressure's on since they did have the most points in the regular season. Robert, being the hockey expert that you are, what do you see happening in the Eastern Conference? Who do you like to come out of there?
You know what? I'd like to see the Canadians do it.
That was the other team I was going to mention.
They have Carey Price,
PK Subban.
PK Subban.
I know who he is.
Who needs to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I heard he did a little slashing.
He did get ejected last
night. Not nice. Not good.
You know, this team, I think, you know, one of the big things in the playoffs is having a good goaltender and getting good goaltending play. And they have arguably the best goaltender in the league. He's a MVP candidate, Hart Trophy candidate, certainly. He, you know, with Carey Price and with this team, you know, they timely offense, you know, solid defense, you know, with Subban, obviously. You know, they have the pieces there to do it. Now the Rangers do as well. You know, there's a few teams. You know, you never count out Pittsburgh with Crosby and Fleury. But, you know, I think between the Rangers and Canadians, you have, you know, two teams who could easily, you know, win the conference and advance to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I think a New York, Montreal would be a great Eastern Conference championship because you got two of the best markets, I think, for hockey in all of North America, or really the world. I mean, think about it. Montreal is probably next to Toronto, who didn't make the playoffs again. Probably the best hockey. Sorry for my Maple Leaf fans out there that I know. I do know some. But I think Montreal and New York would be a great series. The Western Conference, you know, I think Anaheim seems to be the favorite going in. A lot of people like Anaheim. I know St. Louis is pretty good. You know, it's going to be interesting to see because it just seems like Southern California every other year, one of the teams, either Anaheim or LA, gets on some type of run. Anaheim won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. LA won it twice in the last few years. Didn't even make the playoffs this year, which blows you away when you think about it. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the Western Conference might be a little more parity, might be a better chance for a first round upset possibly.
Yeah, the West has just a mix of good teams. You know, there's even with Anaheim, you look at Anaheim and you're not too scared of them.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in the East, you know, as we were talking about the Rangers and Canadians, they really, at least for now, stand head and shoulders above the rest. With the West, you have a mix, like we were saying. You know, Chicago last night wins in overtime after being down 3-0. That's impressive. That's a big thing to do in the playoffs to get a win. You know, they're a team, of course, with you know, at least recently Stanley Cup playoff success. They won the cup a couple of years ago. You know, this is a team that I'd like to see advance. You know, of course, you mentioned Anaheim already.
The Blues.
The Blues are a tough team.
Ryan Miller's still with the Blues.
Ryan Miller's with the Canucks.
Oh, he was with the Canucks now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he lost last night.
Yeah.
Ryan Miller was not in goal for game one, and they lost with 30 seconds to go in regulation on a point shot.
I got to get back in the habit of watching hockey when I get home. I got to get back in that habit of getting into it. I love NHL playoffs. To me, are some of the best playoffs, period, in all sports. NCAA tournament. Maybe the first round of baseball, the first 2 weekends of the NFL. I mean, to me, that's as good as it gets for for that. The NBA, unfortunately, just doesn't cut it for me till the finals. It just it's best of 7. It's just not as much fun as the NHL. I mean, the overtime. Obviously, the overtimes are awesome. I think overtime in a playoff hockey game is just one of the coolest things. Yeah. Period.
Well, the Predators Blackhawks game last night went to double overtime, and I mean the play in the first overtime was fantastic. And the great thing is there's no commercial breaks.
Yeah, you're
playing 20 minutes of hockey. It's going right through, and I mean there were times when it was just end to end. I mean they were going back and forth, and that's what hockey's all about. Yeah. And like you were saying, I mean these games are so fun to watch. Even if you don't follow hockey a lot in the regular season. You want to sit down and watch some of these games during the playoffs, and it's just a lot of fun to follow. Anything
else you want to add? Anything we didn't mention you want to get into that now maybe it's clicked in your head? Like, hey, we need to discuss this. Or
speaking of hockey, I just wanted to rant about Ted Nolan.
All right, go ahead. You're the Sabres fan. Go ahead, rant.
I'm
listening.
My problem with what the Sabres did, and anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I wasn't a big fan of the whole tank thing this year. I think if you're going to play, you give an honest effort, and the organization puts forward, an honest effort to build a lineup that can win games. But, they fire him, and really, it's kind of what we talk about with the Nationals, with Manny Acta, how the situation he was in when, he got cut loose and then new guy comes in and then they invest in the team.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen here. Ted Nolan leaves, they get the number 1 pick, potentially at least number 2, and then they start investing in the team because they certainly need it. They need, more on the blue line. They need a goaltender because they don't have one, at least a starter, and they need more up front to put pucks in the net. So, I feel bad for Ted Nolan because he was brought in a situation. It was a no-win situation.
It was Kobayashi Maru.
Right.
If you're a Star Trek fan, oh my God, how can I get
Star Wars?
Star Trek. Sorry, honey, as my wife
Death
would.
to
My
Shira.
wife would get upset with me if she sees this. But Kobayashi Maru, Wrath of Khan, one of my wife's all-time favorite movie. Seriously, it's a no-win scenario, and it's tough. I mean, because you're brought in, and as a coach, you're trying to win.
Right.
But yet, it's almost like the movie Major League with the Indians.
That's right.
They start playing well, and the owner's like, "Oh, I'm going to show them." They're flying on a prop plane, and their hot tub is taken away. It's just she's making the conditions tougher and tougher for them to be competitive. And you could say the Sabres are not doing that, but they're doing things like, we'll trade this guy, we'll send this guy down the minors, that kind of stuff. And, they get that record, and they get that record to get one of the top 2 picks. And, I hope the Pagulas understand that, okay, you've accomplished what you informally set out to do. It's not like I want to think they're not just, they're all sitting down in a room like this saying, all right, we got to lose every game. We can't win any games. We got to lose every game. We got to get one of those top picks. But, so we'll see what happens. I like I said, I'm not a Sabres fan, but I like to see them do well. I have nothing against them, unlike the Bills. But, I'd like to see the Sabres do well. I think it's good for Western New York to have at least one winning team. Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. The Bills did have a winning record last year. That's right. I'm sorry, a playoff team. Let's go there. So I hope the Sabres become a postseason contender in the near future, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's I watched the Boston University game last week with Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
He showed some things for sure. Connor McDavid is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be the number 1 pick. No matter who gets it, whether it's Buffalo or someone else. So it's to me, Ted Nolan is a great hockey coach. Overall, he was put in a situation where he wasn't given the tools to succeed, but he took the fall anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he saw the writing on the wall there when certain pieces started to fall, and when they make trades and they're basically taking away starting goaltenders for borderline NHLers, it puts you in a tough position.
Yeah.
So
hopefully Ted got paid. Really, I mean that's what ultimately comes down to when you fall upon your sword, when you take one for the team, you hope that you get paid because that's what it comes down to, man. I mean, the coaches have to make money too, just like the rest of us. So
that's right.
All right, anything else, sir?
I'm done.
We're done. We're out. That's it, folks. Bet you weren't expecting golf and hockey talk, right? No, you were not. So, but
next week.
But this was fun.
We dissect IndyCar.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it. I think you're going to need Mr. Moneybags to fill in for me next week because I will not be in the office next Thursday and Friday. Can't say why yet, but I will not be here next Thursday and Friday. So, Mr. Moneybags, Mr. Jonathan Monfiletto may be filling in, and then you will get your wish of some auto racing talk. So,
wow, there we go.
There we go.
I was joking, and it turned out to be serious.
I was going to discuss it with you later. So, all right, folks. Thanks again for watching. Please share the links. It's like crickets, man. We want people to watch our fine sports video product. I think we do a decent job here. So if you do watch
PTI.
If you do watch us, I know we could do that show, couldn't we?
We could.
Yes. And I'll tell you, if you like the video, please share the links. We really do appreciate it. We honest to goodness, we do appreciate your support. So until then, I guess I'll see you in a couple of weeks. But Robert, we'll see you next week. Take care.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here Thursday and Friday. It's going to be tough to do it on Wednesday because how Wednesdays.